Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into this really fascinating intersection where ancient faith meets cutting-edge innovation. We're looking at a huge core tension here. How exactly do you integrate hyper-fast, modern technology into a deeply traditional 1,400-year-old pillar of faith without losing its soul in the process?
I mean, it's a massive question. Can things like artificial intelligence and blockchain actually save a 1,400-year-old pillar of social justice? Because we are talking about literal poverty alleviation, wealth redistribution, and community solidarity on a global scale. The stakes here are incredibly high, and honestly, the traditional systems we use to manage this social good are practically begging for a modern rescue.
All right, let's dive right in. Here's our roadmap for today. We'll outline the Zakat challenge, look at the digital transformation that's stepping in, and explore how this all aligns with Islamic ethics. Then, we'll tackle bridging the digital divide, look at the hidden traps of cybersecurity, and wrap up with a solid blueprint for ethical innovation.
Section 1, the Zakat challenge, the foundation and the flaw.
Now, to really grasp why tech is such a desperate need here, we're drawing our insights straight from a comprehensive analysis in the al-Risala journal. It's a top-tier, peer-reviewed academic authority in Islamic studies, so this gives us a really rigorous, research-backed foundation to understand this whole digital evolution.
Look, we all know the basics. Zakat is that foundational pillar of Islam, obligating financially capable Muslims to contribute a specific portion of their wealth to designated recipients. It's not just charity. It is a profound, non-negotiable commitment to social justice and community solidarity.
So, it all boils down to this specific magic number, 2.5%. That's the portion of wealth that must be redistributed. And think about it. When managed effectively, this massive global pool of capital holds the potential to completely uplift marginalized communities and just drastically reduce poverty. But, well, there's a catch.
The harsh reality is that traditional management is completely bogged down by serious bottlenecks. We're looking at uneven fund distribution, totally inadequate targeting of beneficiaries, actual leakage, and as you'd expect, a resulting lack of trust from donors. Just to give you an idea, researchers found cases in Indonesia where people are registered as poor at multiple different institutions just to double dip and receive multiple benefits, while other severely impoverished areas got almost nothing. The manual system is frankly just flawed.
Which brings us to Section 2, the digital transformation, the technological rescue.
This is where it gets super cool. It's amazing how seamlessly these specific modern technologies actually cure those traditional bottlenecks. Blockchain, for instance, provides immutable ledgers, ensuring total fund transparency and basically killing corruption. Artificial intelligence uses predictive data analytics for real-time needs assessment, making sure the money goes exactly where it's needed most. And mobile platforms make the actual act of giving and tracking that giving accessible to literally anyone with a smartphone.
To take AI out of the clouds and into the real world, check out this comparison. By shifting from traditional manual targeting to AI-driven digitized systems that analyze historical data, Zakat institutions in Malaysia actually saw a 10% increase in funds directed to the absolute neediest households. A 10% jump. That is a massive, tangible improvement in human welfare, and it was driven entirely by an algorithm.
And hey, it's not just about distributing the funds, it's about collecting them too. Mobile platforms and digital campaigns are engaging a much wider, super tech-savvy donor base. Over in Indonesia, Dompet Duafa successfully leveraged social media to dramatically expand their reach and donation volume. And as a quick aside, in the Gulf region, crowdfunding apps are enabling seamless recurring payments for young professionals right now.
So, the efficiency gains, they're undeniable. But it does force us to ask a pretty provocative question. Can an algorithm truly understand Islamic ethics? Like, when we inject hypermodern technology into an ancient religious obligation, do we risk losing the soul of the practice entirely?
Let's get into Section 3, aligning with Islamic ethics, the ethical anchor.
Think of this as our guardrails phase. All this technology has to be anchored firmly in the higher objectives of Islamic law, what's known as maqasid al-shariah. A perfect example of this ethical anchor is data privacy. Now, in Western tech, privacy is often just tossed around as a best practice. But here, valuing individual privacy and preventing intrusive surveillance is a strict, non-negotiable Islamic imperative. You absolutely cannot digitally monitor beneficiaries in a way that strips them of their human dignity. The technology must conform to the ethics, never the other way around.
Section 4, bridging the digital divide, the inclusivity mandate.
We really have to address a major systemic risk here,
The danger of leaving behind the very people the Zakat system was literally built to help. Imagine you build this pristine blockchain-based distribution system. Well, it's completely useless to a remote village that has no internet or digital identity documents, right? Relying entirely on complex apps puts rural regions, the economically disadvantaged, the elderly, and communities facing disability barriers at severe risk of being just completely excluded from social aid.
The fix for this is a multi-channel approach. We need high-tech for sure, but we also desperately need high-touch. And that brilliantly illustrates why establishing physical access centers for folks without devices is so crucial. We need basic SMS tools that work on older flip phones, and we need partnerships with grassroots NGOs to localize these solutions. Technology must uplift, it can never marginalize.
Moving on to Section 5, Cybersecurity and Algorithmic Bias, the Hidden Traps. Okay, first, there's the obvious external threat of hackers trying to steal charitable funds, which obviously requires robust encryption. But the internal threat? That is way more insidious. AI systems actually reflect the biases of their human designers. If algorithms aren't rigorously tested before deployment, they could inadvertently automate discrimination against marginalized groups, all under the guise of efficiency. We absolutely cannot let a machine reinforce existing inequalities.
And finally, Section 6, Guiding Ethical Innovation, the Future Blueprint.
So how do we balance rapid innovation with ethical tradition? Institutions have to execute a clear governance framework built on 3 steps. Step 1, cultivate staff with dual expertise. They literally need to understand both software coding and Islamic jurisprudence. Step 2, rigorously test every single algorithm for bias. And step 3, which is totally non-negotiable, implement mandatory human oversight. Technology is an assistant here, guys, not an autonomous decider.
This quote perfectly hits the nail on the head and captures the core takeaway from our source material. Technology should never replace the essence of human compassion and moral judgment inherent in Zakat. Data analytics can pinpoint exactly where poverty is, and blockchain can securely move the money, but human discretion? That remains completely irreplaceable when it comes to assessing individual nuances and actually administering social justice.
It's honestly an incredible evolution, going from manual, handwritten ledgers to automated smart contracts, but the mission remains exactly the same. Which leaves us with a thought for you to consider in your own life. As technology continues to accelerate and optimize every single facet of our world, how will you ensure your own charitable giving retains its human soul? Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer. I'll catch you next time.